What's up guys, DK here with Collector's Impact, and today we're going to have a nice little thought exercise type of discussion here regarding the collectibles market and what I have identified to be the 5 major challenges that are affecting the market as of right now here in the middle of 2022 and probably moving into 2023.
And winter is coming.
So we are at the Biblioplex here, as you can see, to have a nice little intellectual conversation about this topic. This is in no way like hard stated facts. This is my opinion, so take it as you will in that regard. It is for entertainment purposes only.
And that'll be that, and you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, so it's no secret that the card market has been having a little bit of turbulence recently, to say the very least. The collectibles and card market is kind of, depending on what segment of the market and what product, it's all over the place in terms of how the market is doing right now.
What do you think this stuff is worth?
So let's just dive into this a bit and touch on the 5 key factors that I feel are influencing the market the most. All right, so the first factor, unless you have been living under a rock, there is a lot of tension in the world right now that has the potential to escalate into something insane. And when I say insane, I genuinely mean insane. Something that we have just never seen before in our lifetime, that is for sure. And it's on a lot of people's minds right now, honestly. I mean, not a whole lot of people are talking about it, which is kind of interesting, especially in the card world, so figured I'd at least mention it.
I don't really want to hear this, Randall.
It's just got a lot of people feeling on edge and not necessarily feeling the joy of their hobbies as much, rather just being on edge. There's a lot of anxiety out there, and I don't know why more people aren't necessarily factoring it in.
You know I don't like to talk about dark forces, Randall.
But yeah, I factor it into this market for sure. If everything goes back to normal in quotes, within the next few weeks or months or whatever, if tensions simmer down and things resume normalcy.
So let's stop it and end it today.
Then, okay, you know, I bet the market would kind of upswing quite a bit. That's one factor, and that's one of many, so it's not the only thing. So jumping into that, number 2, probably just as important really, is inflation. So it's also, unless you've been living under a rock, you're probably well aware that the inflation rate is at like 40-year highs right now. In terms of just money printer went burr in 2021, and now here in 2022, inflation is catching up to the economy. Prices are doubling, tripling in some cases. I mean, it's getting insane. Gas is very expensive. Other assets and commodities are very expensive. Go to the grocery store, it's costing you at least double what it used to a year ago. I mean, well, not on record, but in practice, I shop at the grocery store just like any other pleb, and it's it's a very different bill this year versus last year. So yeah, it's inflation is definitely a factor. And so, but the interesting thing is that inflation isn't affecting this market as much in terms of some of the prices of the cards going up. Honestly, the cards went up before the inflation took off. I mean, they were going up like crazy in 2020 and 2021 with the heat of the market, with the demand that was there. But now, with the inflation going up, people seem to be, at least in my theory,
No one's quite sure.
they're having to spend more money on the necessities in life, and these are definitely considered luxury goods, so they're not as impacted to the upside. They're more impacted to the downside. So if the market crashes, the market being the stock market and stuff like that, these likely will crash right along with it. But then again, maybe not, because they are different asset classes, but still, inflation is, in my opinion, definitely having an effect on the overall health of the collectibles market and the willingness of more people to jump in and their ability to jump in. It's affected overall demand. Number 3 is the graded card market it's imploded, and it's imploded for several reasons. Now, when I say the market, I'm talking about the market as a whole. There are still obviously graded cards, specific ones. Like if you have PSA 10 reserve list Magic cards or SGC 10 really rare foil insert cards like this Black Widow, these cards hold value and will always hold value because of what they are. But if you're dealing with Near Mint 7 Gyarados EX from 2016 Pokemon XY, that card has gone down significantly in value because of what it is in comparison. That's what I mean essentially by the market collapsing. Some may consider this type of card a junk slab. If you want to hear my detailed discussion on junk slabs versus regular slabs, I'll go ahead and plug that video here if you're interested. It's a fun conversation, but anyway, the graded card market is not healthy right now, and that is having a very big impact on the market overall. So the thing is that PSA, as of the filming of this video, is still shut down to like bulk tier orders in terms of you know, needing a raffle. Like you need to enter a raffle and win a spot to get a bulk tier submission. Whereas in the past, you know, you just paid $10 a card, sent in a bunch of cards, and then you'd get them graded. I mean, though that right now is not an option, and there's no idea, I have no idea when it will become an option. But the prices of the overall cards, because a lot of people did that in 2020 and 2021, and now they're coming back into people's hands. So there's a lot of inventory that's hitting the market, and the demand, due to the other factors already mentioned, plus some to come, the demand is causing those cards not to be absorbed, especially the lower grade cards. So you mix in the fact that PSA is not issuing as many 10s as they once did, so the lower graded cards are just, they're numerous, they're extremely numerous, and the absorption rate for them in the market is very low because of the overall market health. But the real kicker here is the inability to submit cards and get the cards graded, and that cycle. It's like an incomplete wheel right now because you're just getting cards back. They're coming back and hitting your bucket, but you're not able to send new ones in to really stimulate the flow, the circular flow of graded cards in the market. So what that does overall to the business is it disincentivizes card collecting, especially for the people who have cards for grading. Kind of hard to explain, but like if you're a sports card collector, for example, and you cannot send in your cards for grading right now, then that's a huge part of that market, right? That cyclical nature of the grading, getting a card graded, flipping it, doing it over and over again, that's a really big part. And when the wheel stops turning and you don't have the ability to do that, and then you've got this backflow kind of situation with the cards returning, it's a very unhealthy card grading system right now. You see what I mean? That's really all that I'm trying to say here, is that it's so out of balance that it's having a temporary effect, hopefully, on the graded card market, where there's just not a lot of demand because there's a lot of money that changes hands between collectors. You know, you're not just selling to any Joe Schmo willy-nilly, you know, situation or whatever. It's people that are involved in the space that spend and receive money over and over again. That's how this works. I mean, I just keep doing the circle because it's so important that the circle is broken, and until the circle is restored and people can send in cards and get them back in a timely fashion for a reasonable cost, that, you know, where the market's low value, the cost is so high for grading, nothing makes sense. It's all broken right now, and that's having a huge impact on the market as a whole. I anticipate that once it's unclogged and once people can start sending cards back in, just the ability to send cards back in at a reasonable cost, that is going to increase demand in the market, and it will start that money changing hands again, and the flipping game should return. Assuming that factor number one isn't a huge factor and just destroys everything. You know, once the cycle of graded cards returns, that market will come back. So right now, it feels like a decent opportunity to actually pick up some good graded cards at reasonable prices, because when the demand increases again in that market, having them on hand is going to be extremely valuable. All right, and factor number 4 is everybody's favorite. Alongside death, it's taxes. So in the year 2022 here, the thing that's different about this year versus every other year in the past is during the whole bailout situation of the 2020 fiasco, they managed to sneak in some language into the bill that basically any sale, if you hit over $600 in revenue, in income via most of the mainstream channels like eBay or TCG Player, anything that uses PayPal or its own system like that, mostly, eBay and things like that. If you sell $600 or more, you're getting a 1099 form. And there's a lot of people out there that have never dealt with the 1099 form. Most people, who are dealing in like smaller cards and flipping things of a smaller nature, just, they have their regular tax forms that they deal with. And obviously, don't take my advice on any of this kind of stuff. Again, this is not advice. This is just for entertainment purposes only. I'm just saying that a lot of people out there just have like 1040 easies or whatever. It's not a big deal, but this is changing the game in that regard, where people are going to have to get more detailed with their accounting. They're going to have to do a lot more legwork when it comes tax season. Otherwise, you could potentially get in trouble if you don't file correctly. So it's an education barrier in a lot of ways. It's a barrier to entry for people who are not familiar with that style of tax rules, that don't have to deal with that on average in their daily lives. And now if you sell something for $600 throughout the whole year, which would be like this and this, that would completely befuddle some people. So it's a deterrent from actively listing things into the market, knowing that you're going to have to do that. It's a deterrent for that. So it hinders the market participation quite a bit, which in effect dampers demand, at least in my opinion. Now, again, I put this at slot number 4 because it's not as big of a hindrance as the previous 3 mentioned, especially number 1 and 2. And then lastly is your Economics 101 common sense, well, no shit, DK, and that is simply demand. Demand is lower than the supply as a general rule right now, and therefore the market is not in a seller's market. It's in a buyer's market. And again, I believe that this is mostly due to those first 4 factors, along with some other things thrown in as well. The main other factor that I would mention that's not technically on the list, but can be included in number 5 here with demand, is time management. Now that things are reopened, people have to drive into offices again, people have to go to the grocery store, you're spending more money at the grocery store, you're spending more money at the pump, there's more requirements of people in their daily life, so their time is restricted more than it was in 2020 and 2021. So that is having a big impact on demand as well. So there's, just the time management aspect of maintaining a hobby and maintaining everything that you have to do in order to keep, especially if you're into the flipping game and that kind of stuff. It takes a lot of time, research and work and stuff. And if people are going through hard times or things have changed in their life significantly, it's just one of those things that gets backburnered, and therefore demand overall in the market falls when that happens to a lot of people at the same time. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about these factors. Is there any key one that you think that I missed? What do you feel about this? Did I hit it right? Do you agree, disagree? Why and why not? I'm very interested in hearing from you guys about this, so feel free to leave a comment, of course. And if you like the video, definitely give it a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed already, please subscribe, as we will have random discussion videos like this from time to time, as well as pack openings, grade reveals, and various other things when it comes to cards and collectibles. Thanks again for coming by. I really do appreciate it, and I hope to see you back next time. Take care.